he's so well known that there's actually a conspiracy to make sure that he is not well known. If you understand, if you get my drift. Because Dr. Amos Wilson is somebody who's been working relentlessly, quietly, all along, dealing with these problems that some of these psychiatrists are, playing games with. Because if you read Amos's work, then there's no question about what it is that has made our people react the way they have. It's the same thing happens to the Latino community, particularly the Puerto Ricano, those brothers and sisters who actually labor, for the independence of Puerto Rico. I remember when Lolita LeBron came here in 1994, and a lot of the brothers, Irvin Flores and the rest of them, the people who in 1954 went up to the White House, to see Truman the hard way, to let him know that there was something called Puerto Rico and they wanted to have their independence. And they shot the place up. And I remember as a little kid, wondering about, wow, this is really going to be in big trouble. Make them have a very difficult time, because you heard the adults saying that. And when Lolita came here, and before she came, there was Mayor Dinkins, when he heard about it, said he didn't want any assassins or murderers, and there was a big to-do about it. And I wrote Lolita LeBron and told her to come ahead as the chairperson of the Harlem Reception Committee for Nelson Mandela. And she came, and later on she invited me to Puerto Rico, and I went down there to speak on behalf of the struggle here and the struggle in Puerto Rico. And I met with her at her house, and to see a person like that kind of spirit that still remembers, that they are committed to fight for Puerto Rico's independence. So when Amos Wilson talks about the struggle of our African people and about that determination to break free of the control, because this whole thing is about control. It's about actually trying to dominate and control the mind space of people who, if they had their own free will, would strike out for freedom, which is the natural inclination of all people. And so Amos, what he does when he talks about the developmental psychology of the black child, is to show you at a very early age, before these people start talking about 3 years of age or 5 years of age, what they're going to try to do to control the child. As a matter of fact, if you really look at it, this whole violence initiative is aimed at making sure that Amos's program doesn't work. Because Amos is trying to grab the mind of the black child to put the child in a position where he will grow up normal and understanding he's an African and what that means and all that entails, and historically, and even to the kind of demands that it makes on our present condition. So when he talks about, so-called black-on-black violence and the psychodynamics of black self-annihilation in the service of white domination, he's laying out, a whole idea about how black-on-black crime, whether in the United States or in South Africa, is not something that is genetically or innately, and objectively just introduced into this whole struggle now, but it's something that is systematically placed there for a political reason. And that's to control the struggle of our people, and really to take some of the best people off and have them, as Fanon say, develop into a campaign or a pattern of order-destructive behavior. And therefore we become our own worst enemies. So Amos Wilson is the one who we feel that allows us to break free of that, because he understands more than anybody else how to get out of that particular pattern. With that in mind, without any further ado, will you please welcome Dr. Amos Wilson.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you kindly. Thank you very much for your warm welcome. It's a pleasure to be with you here again. It's been a while. It's not because I've desired to stay away, but it's because, to a good degree, I'm away to hopefully bring a new gift to the community. The gift I hope we'll be able to deliver into the community will begin around November. That will be the time when we will initiate a series of 10 weeks of lectures on power. I was talking here earlier to a brother who was talking about the fact that we describe these issues a great deal. We talk about them and we analyze them, and we rarely get a chance to talk about solutions. Well, we've been working on solutions. We're going to talk about power not from the point of view of being victimized by it, but by developing it and using it against our enemies. At the last lecture I gave at the Slave Theater, where we were talking about global white supremacy, I initiated this theme on power by saying that we can explain the reasons Europeans victimize us in as many ways as we would like. We could talk about them as being ice people as against the sun people, and that explanation is valid. I have no problems with it. We can talk about them in terms of their protecting their more recessive genes against our more dominant genes. We can even get into a little psychoanalysis and deal with the myth of length of penises and penis envy and all the other things, and black balls and white balls and brown balls and black holes and white balls rolling into black holes and things of this nature. And all that's fine. That's a lot of fun. But no matter how you explain why or how the European got to the point of victimizing us, I think the essential issue is that the European victimizes us because he can, because he has the power to do so. And we are victimized because we haven't developed the power to prevent his doing so. So in a sense, no matter how we explain why he does what he does, at the end point, he does what he does because he can. And consequently then, I infer from this that we can end his victimization of us when we end his power to do so. And consequently, I want to bring into the domain of discussion in this community the subject matter of power. I want us, in addition to studying black history and culture, to study power, its accumulation, its use, and application. We should talk about it every day and everywhere. And we should read about it, and we should develop the means of using it. We should come to understand the nature of how white power is organized. In the end, power does not flow from the genes of white folk. Does that not flow from their ice age? It flows from the nature of their organization and the way they have chosen to relate one to the others. And it flows from their intentionality as a people and their appropriate organization of themselves to realize their intentionality, one of which is, of course, the domination of African people. And that means then that we as African people must study the rules of organization. We must study the means of relating one to each other in such a way that we multiply our power. And we must study our enemy's organization such that we can probe that organization and destroy the power of the enemy. And we can do it.